Well, folks, it's the end of an era. The Arena Football League, started in 1987 by Jim Foster, a former NFL and USFL executive, has ceased operations and filed for bankruptcy. The AFL was the third longest North American football league, second only to the Canadian Football League, and of course, the NFL itself, celebrating its 100th year in operation.
Obviously, in your first season, what do you consider maybe some of the changes for next year, like in particular the playing rules?
Well, we're going to make some adjustments in the playing rules. You know, the game this year was set up to be a very offensive show, a lot of passing. I think you're going to see the coaches come out next year and have a lot more opportunity to show their own autonomy in the way they coach the game and the way it's played. You'll see more rushing next year probably than you did this year. A good game next year.
Yeah, obviously, there are going to be some more changes. That means there's going to be expansion. What's your ideas and what's your feelings about expanding the Arena Football League?
We're going to go slowly with this. That's the way we've done it for the last 5 years. My attitude has always been, since the beginning, when other people said you've got a good idea, that we better take it slowly and make sure that every step of the way we're right in what we're doing.
From the onset, the Arena Football League was designed with the fans in mind. And what the fans wanted was offense, entertainment, excitement, and the Arena Football League delivered. For starters, the field was much shorter, so you saw much more scoring, a pass-oriented offense, very little rushing, although that would change as the league expanded, but you would see high scores and lots of fan interaction with the playmakers on the field. Over the course of the Arena League, they would have over 60 franchises operating under 85 different names. At its height, in 2007, the Arena League boasted 19 teams, but only 4 teams in 2018. One of the things that always plagues any type of alternative to the NFL in the United States is how do you stay afloat? How do you remain in business? And how do you keep positive cash flow? Well, the Arena Football League executives did everything in their power in this regard, signing lucrative TV contracts, signing merchandising deals, even down to video games. And just like in the professional world, the video games themselves would be an alternative to the Madden games, or even just something to keep that football playing going, which is what the AFL always wanted, to be seen as a complement and not necessarily an alternative. And with any league that's starting to show its longevity, they would have their stars that they would induct into their Hall of Fame. Quarterbacks Jay Gruden, people like Andre Bowden, that was a beast at Tampa Bay, and of course, probably the most famous person ever to be in the Arena Football League, Kurt Warner, who had a fantastic career as an Iowa Barnstormer before, of course, a Hall of Fame career in the NFL.
Kurt Warner's return to Iowa, where his Barnstormer jersey is going to be raised to the rafters in the barn. Let's take a look.
For the special jersey retirement ceremony, Jim Foster.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great privilege to be able to do what we're about to do. I'm happy to have with me the Commissioner of the Arena Football League, David Baker, the fine Governor of the state of Iowa, Tom Vilsack, and a very fine two-time head coach of the year, Sean Gregory. Everybody knows why we're here. This young man from Iowa electrified this state as an Iowa Barnstormer after a good career at UNI, but here he found his stride. Tonight we present Kurt with a retirement of his jersey in honor primarily of what he did as an Iowa Barnstormer, because he brought this franchise to the forefront of the Arena Football League with 2 championship runs. And we thank him for what he did then. We salute him for what he's doing now in the National Football League, both on and off the field, as both a good Christian, a good father, and a great football player.
The 30-year history of the AFL was not without its setbacks. Often there were cracks in the foundation. Teams would come and go. They would join other professional organizations. The 2009 season, it didn't even happen because of financial instability. But the teams would come back in 2010 in a reorganized AFL. And another thing that the AFL did successfully, it had its own minor league system, the AFL 2. that would not only bring in up-and-coming players, but would teach players coming from the NFL how to play the AFL system. And they would do it in small towns across the country, populations of between 1 and 200,000. The players would be paid similarly to minor league baseball, where they would only operate on $200 a game. The AFL, too, had its own AFL Cup that they would play for. And in 2009, when the AFL itself didn't have a season, the AFL, too, did. And as is often the case, sometimes good things do have to come to an end. And that end for the AFL came in late October of 2019, when Randall Bowe, the CEO of the AFL, had to give the news that the league was forced to declare bankruptcy and cease operations. Now, will this be the end of the AFL? I don't think so. And if it is the end of the Arena Football League, known as the AFL, there are other indoor leagues. There are other franchises constantly springing up, because we have a love affair with the game of football in all its incarnations. Across the world, different variations of it are played. In fact, our game itself here in the United States is simply an offshoot of rugby and football. So rest assured, fans, there will be somebody for you to cheer. There'll be a game for you to get excited about. But let's remember the awesome play that the AFL gave us.